Hello and welcome to another edition of the Pondwater Dave Show. As always, I am your host, Justin Davis. And as always, I'm joined by the person that this show is named after, and his name is Pondwater Dave. Pondwater, what's going on, buddy?
Oh, just excited to do this episode tonight, trying to get all of our technology to work.
Yeah, for sure. We're going live on a couple.
So bear with us for just a second while we get our streams going.
We are going live on a couple different streaming services here on YouTube and on Facebook, and you guys can chat with us live during the show this week. And we are excited for it because it is going to be a show all about the beginnings of how Pondwater Dave became who he is and how he got the name Super Dave and all of the origin story, I like to say, of Pondwater Dave. Pondwater, are you excited for this, or are you thinking people don't know your whole story, so to speak?
Well, there's been a few people that know it. There's been a few people that know it. A lot of people don't. You'd be surprised how many times if somebody hears somebody call me Super Dave, they'll mouth off sometimes because I'm a little bitty guy. They'll say, "Well, what's so super about him?" And then I'll tell them, and then they normally feel about that big.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be a fun thing to talk about, and we're going to get to that here pretty soon. But the first thing we want to talk about is I guess we should cover the AEW pay-per-view a little bit that took place here just a few days ago, Dave. What were some of your thoughts on that?
Uh, let's hold up just a second because I've got us going on YouTube, but we
Hmm.
have not gone live on Facebook.
All right.
So let me see if I can get that stream going. I don't want to leave them out.
For you guys that are listening live, this is what we shall cut in post-production. I do have one listener over here on the old YouTube gimmick. I think it's old Terry Weaver and Jared Wise. We got a couple. I'll bring it up here when we go back recording here.
Oh, this is
I hope you guys.
riveting. This is
I
a
hope you
riveting
guys.
podcast.
Yeah. I hope you guys hang in here, by the way, because this is going to be fun. I got some fun stuff to talk about Dave getting shot in the head. So definitely hang in there with this.
About to do it. I'm about to do it again if I can't get this stream going.
Well, listen, I've got the percentages here. You don't want to double. You don't want to try it again, I don't think, of who lives from that. Just so you guys listening know, I can't talk back to you in the chat because it says I have to create a channel to join the chat. I don't know what that even means. Why would I have to do that? And I don't want to do
Well,
that.
we got T Weave, we got Jared rolling with us.
Yep. Why would I have to do that?
But
And I don't want to do that.
well, we got T Weave.
Did you figure
I
it
don't
out?
think I
Don't
don't
know
think
yet.
we're gonna have
Facebook.
I don't think we're gonna have Facebook going with us tonight.
All right.
We'll copy the stream key. I apologize. And for some reason, it is not. For some reason, we can't. Facebook's not participating, and I tested it and it worked, and now it doesn't.
Well, You got put in Facebook jail. It's better than regular jail, though. We weren't very far into this. We can just redo the whole thing, right?
Yeah, we'll be fine on the editing.
Yeah. Because I'll be all screwed up if I try to start wherever the hell I left off.
But I can't.
That's fine. We'll just go YouTube.
Send your hate tweets to
People got that app too.
that asshole that owns Facebook. Oh, there we go. We're live on Facebook. How about that?
Ah, all right.
There we go.
All right.
So, back to where we were talking now, Justin. The pay-per-view. Pay-per-view was interesting. I watched it. I watched it on a live stream. I didn't watch it on traditional pay-per-view, and it was really good. I watched it with friends, and everybody was into it. Very excited about that main event.
Yeah, that's what I was definitely excited for too. And I didn't watch the pay-per-view. I saw some clips of the main event. I read about it. I kind of watched some videos that I saw. Looked like kind of a copycat WrestleMania 12 type of thing to me. You had, obviously MJF giving props to Shawn Michaels. I actually did get on your Zoom or whoever was running at the ad-free shows, whoever was running the live pay-per-view. I actually did get on that, and I saw the main event. And the first thing I said was, man, I hate a heel in white. And then I figured out, oh, he's doing a tribute to Shawn Michaels. And then he gets down and does the stretch and the thing with the arms. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's what we're doing now. And then, of course, the match goes the full hour. We have to go to overtime and all that. It just seemed like very much a WrestleMania 12 tribute, I guess.
Yeah, I kind of got a little of that. I was really impressed. I knew Daniel Bryan could do that. I didn't know that MJF could. And it was, I mean, they had the quick pins. They did the wagon wheel pin scenario. I mean, just the back and forth. I thought that was really enjoyable. The fact that they ended up going 67 minutes and there wasn't a whole lot of resting. I mean, MJF did get out and take a drink from a woman and throw it on a kid. And I'm told that's not cool.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he probably thought it was water. Come to find out it was tequila. And that's not cool, hitting a kid in the face with tequila.
No, it's not.
But that kid, let's don't play victim, because he ain't never going to forget it.
Yeah.
He got the backstage treatment. He got to meet people he wanted to meet. He got merched out the ass, and his whole family was invited to go to Dynamite tonight. So, I mean, it was just liquid. It's not cool. And Ric Flair says that's cheap heat.
Yeah, I heard him say that today, and I agree with him. It's no, I mean, if we want to do that, let's go spit on grandmas and stuff. I mean, that's, you know what I mean? It's the same thing.
Yeah, make them come after you. Don't go after them.
Yeah.
You're just causing a nightmare for your boss.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, hitting a kid in the face with water's bad enough, but throwing tequila on him. I understand that MJF's trying to do heel stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And he's been consistent. He's very consistent with his heel presentation.
Yeah.
But there's got to be a line, and I'm sure that Tony Khan had a huge discussion with him about it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm telling you, if he goes spitting on Meemaws, he's crossed the line. If you spit on me, my Meemaw, MJF, me and you's going to be going to the next AEW pay-per-view.
Well, King Rob Love at BIW, he gets heat, and he gets. I mean, there's a woman with a walker that chased him all over the building, and she was going to cut him.
Yeah.
I mean, he had her running hot, and then the promoter asked him, said, "Would you please leave that woman alone?" He said, "Yeah, I won't say nothing to her." And the first thing he did is he got right on her. He got on her, and she was up and ready to get him. So
Yeah.
I mean, but that's heat. That's
Yeah.
heat. You got her ready to kill you, and security steps in. But you just don't throw anything at the crowd.
Right.
And this is
I
a very
mean, you're asking them not to throw
litigious
stuff at
society that we
you.
live in.
I mean, I know wrestlers get mad when they get stuff thrown on them. So why wouldn't the fans who literally are not being paid to be there, they paid to go to that. And
Yeah.
now they got shit thrown on them? Like, I don't know about that.
And you got your regulars. If you want to do some stuff like that, do it with a plant.
Yeah, do it with a plant.
I mean, somebody that's there all the time, somebody that y'all know, somebody that there always knows somebody that's got, and I don't know if AEW has their own section of comp seats together like WWE does, but you could get somebody in that section. This is what we're going to, be ready. And you ain't even got to tell them what's coming, but they're in on the gag that something's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, the rest of the crowd doesn't know. So,
well, let me ask you this, Dave. I know you watched most of the pay-per-view. I haven't heard raving reviews from the Twitterverse and other areas as far as this pay-per-view goes. How would you jar that one, you think?
I thought it was a solid 3.5 jars. My biggest criticism of the whole night was the Texas Death Match had a I quit finish.
Yeah.
I mean, he was hanging him with a chain and he tapped and it was over. But that's...
I mean, in a death match, you got to die. You can't give up.
Well, I mean, I think Moxley should have gone limp and the referee called it.
Yeah.
He went limp. He's out. Referee calls it. 1, 2, counts to 10. That's the drama. Is he going to answer the 10 count? But if you end it with it was a cool spot where he hung him over the top rope. But if he taps, then that's not the Texas Death. Where's the 10 count? Can he answer the 10 count? And that was really my only issue. That and Hangman took some barbed wire and wrapped it around his body, and that just seemed... I mean, if I'm going to do something to you, I don't really think I'm going to put an apparatus on me. It's going to stab me as well.
Well, I do want to go back to the main event real quick. We were talking about the vodka or the tequila or whatever it was in the water bottle, and our listener here, Jared Wise, comments on YouTube, whoever put tequila in a water bottle is who is responsible for the alcohol going on the child, because all MJF knows is that that's water. And Jared says, I don't think
I thought it was a cup.
No, Jared says, I don't think they sell tequila in the water bottles at the concession stand. So that some of the heat could be shaded, I think, if that's...
Oh, then the mom can set her ass down and shut up.
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking too.
That changes everything. I don't even want to hear about tequila on a kid.
Yeah, see, it's a good thing we've got Jared Wise and Terry Weaver and some of these guys on our live right now so they can straighten us out as we're talking.
But, he's got to be careful. He get shot messing with somebody's kid.
Yeah, well, speaking of getting shot, we're going to talk about that. So, yeah, there it is. There's the new segment sound. I love it. So, we are talking about Pondwater Dave origin story today. How did he get the name Super Dave? Because I promise you, he didn't he didn't give a slam to Andre the Giant. That's not how he got the name Super Dave. It's a unique story. If everyone doesn't know,
well, contrary to popular belief, it's not because I'm faster than a speeding bullet. That is lies. Lies from disgruntled ex-girlfriends and wives.
It's because he took a speeding bullet.
It's not that I'm able to leap tall women in a single bound.
So, yes, our buddy here, the lovable Pondwater Dave, once took a bullet to the cranium and is here talking to us to tell us the story. And we're going to get the complete story here soon. And I cannot wait to hear it because I've heard this story in probably bullet points. I don't know that
Bullet
I don't
point.
know that I've ever heard
Got
the
all over
complete
me.
story. Yeah,
Hey,
I've
before
heard
we
the
get
bullet
started,
point.
I want to tell everybody that this is a pretty graphic story. It's a pretty disturbing story. Spoiler alert, it's got a pretty happy ending at the end of it. I bet. But I do want to warn you that if you get upset easy, um, I'm going to describe. I mean, I'm going to describe it, and I don't want anybody getting upset. So, if you don't think that you can handle those kind of details, this may not be the episode for you.
Parental discretion advised. And since our lovely Miami Miss Amy is not here today, I am not going to do trivia like she would do. I was really excited for shots to the head trivia by Amy this week, but she found a better gig than us. Now I don't. She had some important things to take care of tonight, and so she couldn't make it. But
She would have.
instead
Spoilers. The spoilers on Shot to the Head trivia. The answers were John F. Kennedy,
of
Abraham Lincoln.
and William McKinley. Now, um, I have some shots to the heads stats. These are national stats, okay, that have to do with people getting shot in the head. So, Dave, I think after I read this, you're going to learn how lucky you are to be alive. Okay.
Okay. Like I already didn't
If you
know.
didn't
Go
already
ahead.
know that. I want to start off with 5% of people shot in the head in the United States end up living. Okay. Of those 5%, only 3% have a good quality of life. So you are one of 3% in this country that got shot in the head and have a great quality of life. Now, there are factors on what helps you survive a shot in the head. Okay, here are some of the factors. Children generally fare better than adults. I'm not sure the reason on that other than having a smaller head, and maybe because when you're growing and you're younger, you're able to recuperate better. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Don't really have an answer for that. Now, second, location of the wound is the biggest factor. Now, of course, that makes sense, and I think that's where you got kind of lucky, right, Dave, on your location.
Right.
Also, the direction of the bullet plays a major role. So a bullet traveling from front to back has a better chance of survival because it generally would only destroy just one of the two brain hemispheres. So your brain hemisphere, is split here. So if it goes front to back, it's usually going to just get one side. Side to side, however, is a different story where it would travel through both brain hemispheres, and that is extremely deadly. Let's see. Here's my last stat. 20,000 people in the United States die from headshot wounds every year. So it is a massive problem in this country. I mean, we have 20,000 people a year getting shot in the cranial area. So, like I said, Dave, you are extremely lucky to be alive, and I cannot wait to hear this.
Absolutely blessed.
Yes. There are only two people that I know that were shot in the head in Dallas, Texas, and you fared a lot better than the other guy, Dave. I'll say that.
I should have took him to Baylor instead of Parkland.
That's right. So there are my shot in the head stats. Probably something that I never thought I would do on this show when I agreed with Dave that I would be doing this show. But here we are.
Yeah. Wrestling with metal.
So let's get into it.
All right.
I want to hear this story, and I'm going to give you the floor, and I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to put myself on, you can't see me for a second, but that's just because I'm making a drink. I will be listening, Dave. Go ahead.
All right. To preface this story, in the late 80s, after going to the movies to see a movie called Necessary Roughness, football movie with Scott Bakula, me and my buddies went to a tattoo parlor.
And that's exactly what you got later was unnecessary roughness as well.
Well, this is years before it happened, but I got a tattoo on my arm of the Superman S because I always liked the Superman S. And I looked at it, and it's just a small tattoo. And I look at it, and after about 3 days, I realized why it looked wrong is the dude did the colors backwards. But that really doesn't have anything to do with the story. Just that I got a tattoo at a time when getting tattoos wasn't as acceptable as it is now. So I knew about my tattoo. My close friends knew about my tattoo. My wife knew about my tattoo. But my family, my mother and father specifically, and grandparents did not know about my tattoo. It would have been a huge deal. Anyway, so I tell you that to tell you that in 1993, October 21st, it was a Thursday, I was at work. I worked in a little grocery store in South Dallas near the fairgrounds. If you wanted to kind of put a pinpoint to where it's at, if you looked at the Cotton Bowl at the State Fair of Texas, it's in that neighborhood. That store had been in my family since 1957. Granddad had opened it. I grew up in that store. I grew up in that neighborhood. I spent more time at the store than I did at home. When I was a young boy, I had my own mop at 4 years old. Sawed off mop. At 7 years old, I was putting up stock. And at 7 years old, I started running a cash register. I was allowed to, my dad, I was allowed to run cash register. I grew up in that store. So that day was just, my normal Thursday. I didn't feel good that day. But I never had sick days ever. Never. Just didn't do it. You go to work, you just didn't feel good. So we had a friend, my wife's best friend, her best friend was single mom, wanted to know if she could borrow some money from us. So I would have drove by her house on my way home that night. I go to work at 7 o'clock in the morning. We close the store at 9 o'clock. I normally get out of there 10 or 11. I had a long, 16-hour day. I worked every other day. And because I didn't feel good, she came down to the store to pick the money up so I wouldn't have to stop by there on my way home because it was out of the way. And she got there right at closing time. She came in, she hung out with me while I did all my paperwork, counted the money and everything. And we got ready to go, and I wore a varsity type jacket. It was actually a really nice Spider-Man jacket. It was embroidered. It was like a varsity football jacket, had like a Marvel patch on it, Spider-Man embroidered on the back.
You hadn't bought your members only jacket yet.
Oh, the members only jackets had already come and gone. This is 1993. But in 1983, I was members only jacket Jones. I had about 6 of them. I had all the colors.
There we go.
Anyway, so I didn't like to have anything in my hands when I left. So I took the money pouch and I slid it down in my arm and in my sleeve. And we go outside, and I'm parked on the corner. There's like a loading zone in front of the store. And I'm parked on the corner. Like the building ends, there's a vacant lot, and I'm kind of in front of the vacant lot. She's parked behind me. So, and there's two payphones on the corner of the building and a mailbox. And, I told her good night. She's getting in her car. I was walking towards mine. 3 guys stepped out from around the corner. With one of them had a gun pointed at me. I just kind of put my hands up. He told me to turn around. He put me on the hood of her car, and he pressed the gun to the back of my head right here. If you're on the video version, you can see it.
Right behind his ear, basically.
He
Bottom of his head.
So he put the gun to my head, and I remember I didn't beg. I didn't cower. I didn't make eye contact. I did everything they say that you're supposed to do. And I never for a second believed that he'd pull the trigger. And I was annoyed because, again, I didn't feel good. Let's get this shit over with. I'm ready to go home.
Yeah.
Because if he doesn't ask about the money, he's not getting the pouch.
Right.
Being in this store, the way I was raised, I don't think when I look back on it, it was very healthy. I mean, we didn't lose the money. You know, that was just the thing is when I mean, there was times we'd take it home with us and take it to the bank the next morning. And there was times that we'd go by the bank later on in life. We started going to the bank at night, but I didn't volunteer any information.
Right.
But they didn't take my billfold. I mean, he had me bent over with a gun to my head. Yeah. All he had to do was reach down. He could have took my billfold out of my pocket.
Well, he saw you in your varsity jacket. He's like, this is a high school slapdick. He ain't got no money.
But the 2 guys that were with him went to her, and they took her purse, and they left her alone. She's standing there freaking out. But as they cleared me, and one of them says, let's go. And I'm thinking it's over. I hear pop, just a pop. And immediately I go down to one knee. And I went, oh shit, he shot me. And then she's freaking out. Now, from this point on, she's pretty much useless because
because she's crying and screaming.
I mean, she's losing her shit big time.
Yeah.
But I'm on my knee.
So and I'm thinking, where you were shot before you know? Did you know where you were shot?
I knew I'd been shot, and my jaw was very warm.
Yeah.
I thought the bullet was in my jaw. That's all I could feel was a lot of warmth in my jaw. So I said to myself, you're alive. Why are you still on the ground? There's no reason for you to be on the ground. Call for help.
Yeah.
So I stood up and I went to the payphones, and neither one of them worked. So I got my keys and I'm going to go back in the store. And I tell her, come on, let's go inside. And she's freaking out, and I ain't got time for this. So I went in the store.
So where did they go?
They ran. I guess they ran.
Where was he when he shot you? Was he right beside you? Like
he was behind me.
He was
behind me with the gun pressed to the back of my head.
Okay.
The gun was pressed firmly to the back of my head when he pulled the trigger.
So my guess is, based off of me knowing where your bullet went, that when he shot, the gun went up, and it went up through that side, up that.
No, it went straight through and shattered my jaw.
Okay.
It shattered my jaw and ricocheted and came out under my eye.
That's where I was wondering about the ricochet.
I didn't know it at the time. I later learned that when it came out, it actually cracked her windshield. So she's lucky she didn't get hit too.
Yeah.
But so I opened the door.
And you're lucky, based off of where he shot you, that it didn't hit your brain stem or anything, because that's automatic.
Oh yeah. I mean, how I'm still conscious and not really in a great deal of pain, just a numb, really hot feeling in my jaw.
Yeah.
So I let myself back in because we have a payphone right inside the door. And so she's not coming. I lock her out. And I go pick up the phone, and you didn't have to put a quarter in and make an emergency call. So I called 911, and I'm talking to them, telling them what happened. Meanwhile, I have set the alarm. After so many seconds, the alarm goes off. So I said, I'm going to go answer the call and talk to the security company. I just dropped the phone because I knew that 911's coming now.
Mm-hmm.
I walked across the store, and in the office, we had like a big chain link fence from the floor to the ceiling, wood fence. And we chained it shut at night. That way, if somebody broke in, it was harder for them to get into the office where we locked up the cigarettes,
Mm-hmm.
petty cash,
Yeah.
because we didn't leave anything in the cash registers.
Right.
We were trying to, if somebody broke in, you're trying to slow them down.
Yeah.
So and it had a chain. So I unlocked. I'm bleeding really bad too.
Right.
But I think it's coming out of the back of my head. I don't realize where I had no clue that it was under my eye.
Yeah.
So I removed the chain just in time for the phone to start ringing. I pick up the phone. We kind of got a mom and pop security company we'd been with for years. So we had a relationship with them. And I told them what happened. And she said that she'd call 911 and give them my information. And so then I told them, I said, hey, I'm going to go back outside because I'm bleeding really bad. And if I pass out in here, they're never going to get through the burglar bars to get to me in time.
Mm-hmm.
I need to get back outside before.
How old was you said when this happened, Dave?
I was 27.
Okay.
It's October 21st, 1993. So
93.
Almost 30 years.
Yep.
So I'm walking back to the front, and as I pass the checkout stand, I reach down in my sleeve, I pull the money pouch out, and I just throw it behind the cash register.
Mm-hmm.
So then I go and I let myself out and I lock the door. By this time, a crowd is gathered.
Because they heard your mom screaming and crying, I'm sure. And
well, the woman's crying and the woman's our friend's crying. She's panicking, but people are gathering around. And so they set me down, and one of our really good customers was there. And the police got there too, and they said, what happened? And I told them, and the ambulance was about to get there. And I gave my truck keys to my customer. Mr. Lindsay was his name. And he took my truck to his house because it'd been on blocks the next morning if he didn't.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is not a good neighborhood, by the way. But so my truck was taken care of. There's not cell phones.
No. There's
no cell phones. So, and the payphones outside are broke.
Yeah.
So the only person that knows this has happened now is the security company, the 911 operator, my friend, and the customers, but nobody's calling my family.
Right.
Because we don't have cell phones. And so the paramedics put me in the ambulance, and my brother-in-law was a firefighter, rode the ambulance too. Last name was Stovall. And the firemen always came to our store because we gave them a discount we'd give them a discount on everything.
Mm-hmm.
Granddad was captain of the fire department. He opened the store as a second job. Said, take care of the firefighters and police. Always take care of them. So there were cell phones at the time, but they were the brick ones.
They were the
have them. You had to take a mortgage out to pay the damn bill.
Well, they were the Saved by the Bell ones too, or the bag phones in the car.
I'd already had my experience with the bag phone. My wife ran up an $800 phone bill. We didn't have the bag phone anymore. She thought she had to talk on that thing every time she got in the car. Anyway.
You won't believe it. I just got 20% off.
So they put me in the ambulance, and they go, are we going to go to Parkland? And one of the firefighters said, this is Stovall's brother. Let's take him to Baylor. Baylor's very close, is much closer than Parkland.
Mm-hmm.
And they called him and told him, what had happened. So I just remember riding in the ambulance asking, said, "Hey, if I don't make it, tell my dad that I threw the money behind the checkout stand. I'm only worried about the money. Oh, I'm also worried about another thing. Is I just got life insurance the week before. Just got life insurance.
They wouldn't have looked at this fishy at all if you would have.
Well, no, I just got life insurance, and I knew that I had to have it for a year for it to pay.
Oh, okay.
Well, if I'd got cancer or something else, it would have been a year. I didn't know that if I'd have died, not only would she'd got the full benefit, she'd got double indemnity.
Yeah.
If I said that right. So, but my thinking was, oh shit, I'm going to die. My wife and kids aren't going to have anything. How are they going to pay for the house? I mean, this is my mindset.
Yeah.
While I'm trying to get help. So I tell him in the ambulance, tell my dad that I threw the money behind the checkout stand. I didn't lose the money. I got it. It's behind the checkout stand.
Right.
And they're taking me to the hospital, and I'm like, y'all think I'm going to die? And they say, no, you're going to be okay. And I'm like, would y'all tell me if y'all thought I was going to die? They said, when I'm hurt, I try to joke.
Right.
When I'm scared, I'm hurt, I'm trying to make joke. I mean, that's my defense mechanism, is trying to be funny.
Yeah, I think we're similar that way.
So we get to the people. I mean, we get to the hospital. They bring me in. They put me on the table, and they're working on me. And I don't know why this is standard operating procedure in an emergency room, but this big son of a bitch slaps a glove on, and he's going to check my prostate. And I'm like, dude, I didn't get shot down there. And he's like, well, we got to check it. But why? Don't you think I'm already having a bad enough night?
We're going to make it a little bit worse for you right now.
So Shaquille O'Neal sticks his finger up my ass. And I'm like, whoa. Oh. Damn, dude. At least talk dirty to me. Get me excited about the project. They didn't know how to take my sense of humor.
Not only had you had 2 holes created in your body this night, you had one opened and stretched as well.
Yeah, now I'm dating Ham Hands Jones. I'm not even sure he used one finger.
He probably just put the tip in, and that was
man. But I forgot about the hole in my head there for a second.
Maybe that was his game plan the whole time.
Oh, so I mean, I've been shot and I'm dating a doctor. Okay. I don't know how much time has passed. They're working on me. I know my mom got there. She's losing her shit. And I said, that's my mom. Can y'all give her something to calm her down? Oh, no, we can't do that. So just joking.
Yeah.
They were not having any of my shit that night. My sense of humor was getting in their way.
They were trying to save your life. They were not in the mood to joke.
My only question really was, am I going to die? And they said, well,
we don't know yet.
And then I said, would y'all tell me if I was going to? And they go, would you calm down? Because we continue to work this hard on you if we didn't think that we couldn't save you. Well, they put an IV in me. And when they did, I came out of shock. And it hurt. And it hurt bad. It hurt really bad.
Sorry. I thought that was a national anthem for me.
No, my wife knows I'm doing a podcast, so she's going to call like I'm going to answer.
Come on.
It's already been the wheels are already off from the beginning of the show. I should have just took the call.
That's right. Hey, we're talking about me taking that bullet to the head.
Yeah. So
she's like, well, I'm about to give you another one if you don't answer my phone call.
So it hurt. It hurt really bad.
Yeah.
And they put me under. I mean, I was under at that point. I know they took me to radiology, and I was just kind of in and out. But I know I woke up when they were taking me to radiology, and I said, "Are you the chaplain?" And he goes, so then they thought, because I asked, "Are you the chaplain?" that it was important to me that I had a chaplain.
So now they're
taking me to X-rays, taking me to emergency, they're taking me to do radiology, and trying to get the chaplain in the hospital there too.
You know what would have been really awesome if Brother Love walked in as your chaplain at this point. It is Texas, you never know.
So while I'm in radiology, my head starts to swell. And it swells out. So, I mean, bigger than a basketball. And
well, let me ask you this with that. Was it swelled as big as after you counted Ric Flair's last match? Almost.
Well, the difference of this one is it swelled and it sat down on my shoulder. And the radiologist, whatever he did, saved my life.
Yeah.
The radiologist reacted and saved my life. And they got me into surgery. Well, they got me stable.
I'm guessing they put some type of drain in there, right?
I guess.
Because doing my research for this show, I did see that one of their main defenses against a gunshot wound to the head is to stick some type of tube in there and let the stuff drain so it doesn't.
Well, I hemorrhaged and it was bad. And then they got the chaplain.
Yeah.
And I remember it was in the elevator. And they said you wanted to see me. And I said, I just asked the guy if he was the chaplain. I didn't. I said, but
I really want to talk to you, dude.
And I'm not getting religious on everybody. But 1 week prior to this, the Friday before this happened, I went to the State Fair of Texas with my mother and my grandmother. And we had a conversation about why bad things happen to good people. And I told my mom and my grandmother that I believed in God, but I believed that we as a people had become so evil that he left. And that's why bad things happen to good people, because God gave up on us and he left. And this upset my grandmother to no end. It upset my mom too. But I remember my grandmother, I mean, this is like one of those shut down the conversations. She was so upset that I felt that way.
Mm-hmm.
So I just relayed that story to the chaplain. And he told me, he said, I don't think that's something you need to worry about right now. And that was it.
Yeah.
And because I just said it the week before. And in my mind is, well, I said it, so I'm not, now all of a sudden I need him. I'm not,
This chaplain's like, how much damage did this bullet do to this dude's head? He screwed up.
Well, I'm sure that they'd already got me on drugs too, because I was hurting. I was hurting pretty bad. Over the course of a week, they put me in a coma.
Yeah.
Because the head started swelling again.
Yeah.
They got me stabilized and they put me in a coma. And this was on a Thursday night. And I woke up the following Friday. The next Friday morning, I'm getting a sponge bath by a nurse that looked like Nicole Kidman from Days of Thunder. And the way the light hit her hair was almost angelic.
Mm.
And I'm laid there and I've got the tubes in the feeding tubes, and I'm aspirated. And, when you're getting your twigs and berries cleaned by a woman that looks like Nicole Kidman from Days of Thunder, you might want to, I'm trying to say something witty, you know, to kind of break the,
Yeah.
to kind of break, and I couldn't, but I didn't realize I'd been out for a week because what's today? Friday. I thought it's the next morning.
Right.
But over the course of the week, I remember coming in and out and people being there to visit me, people that I wouldn't have expected to come visit me. Friends from high school,
Mm-hmm.
uh, old girlfriends, just,
Yeah.
I mean, it just, but it was like one night to me. And I remember laying in bed at one point, and it was one of those popcorn ceilings. You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Like they got the little crystals in it. They
Yeah.
kind of shine a little bit.
My grandma had that.
And I told my mom and dad that it looked like there was an angel floating above me.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad said, "That's just morphine, son. They only give you that when they figure you're gonna make. They only give you that when they figure you're not gonna make it anyway."
That's right. That's what you got in World War II when you was aft. That's when you got the
But
morphine.
also, and then I reiterated to my dad, "I didn't lose the money. Y'all get the money. Did y'all find the money?"
Yeah.
And that's what I was worried about. And but anyway, I woke up the following Friday, and they left the feeding tube in. They took the respirator off of me. They left the feeding tube in for the weekend. And that Sunday, I mean, I think that Sunday was Halloween
Yeah.
because they brought the kids to the hospital to see me.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you about the feeding tube. You got shot through the back of the head through your jaw. How long did it take you to be able to eat?
My jaws were wired shut. I got them unwired the 23rd of December.
So 2 months almost.
Oh yeah, I was eating. I lost a lot of weight.
Yeah.
I was eating a half gallon of ice cream, and I was mixing ice cream with Ensure,
Mm,
and I was still losing weight.
yeah.
But because everything I could eat broth, but
Right.
I couldn't get anything. We tried to blend stuff up where I could suck it through.
Mm-hmm.
There's a picture of me at Thanksgiving where my mom blended up my Thanksgiving dinner in
Oh,
about
that
5
would
cups.
freaking sucked. You couldn't eat Thanksgiving dinner, and you had to sit there and watch everybody freaking eat it.
Oh God, it was horrible, dude.
I just would have told mom, like, I'm not going. I don't want to go watch everyone eat that good food when I can't eat.
I just wasn't. I was glad to be alive. Now, I could have left the hospital on Monday, and I didn't because I was scared.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
I have another.
I didn't want to. The walk from the hospital door to my car, I was terrified.
Right.
And my wife tried to take me back to the store. She said, "You want to stop by the store and see everybody before we go home?" Because I was up walking around. Now, when I got out of bed the first time I got up in the hospital to go to the restroom, I fell down. I lost my balance and fell down.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to walk a lot. They'd get me up to take a walk to get my. I looked like Quasimodo. My face was all swollen, and
Yeah.
I had the braces where the jaw was wired shut.
Well, at
It was
least
funny, and it was funny because that Monday there was an episode of Oprah that had I think his name was Reginald Denny. Is that the truck driver that got the hell beat out of him during the Rodney King
I think so.
riots?
The name rings a bell to me, and that probably
Anyway, the guy that got the hell beat out of him and the guy that beat the hell out of him were on Oprah.
they were together.
Yes. And the guy that got the hell beat out of him was forgiving the guy that beat the hell out of him. And man, I'm crying like a bitch too. Because it was years before I could watch the news. Because it just upset me to hear. Because you hear about somebody,
gas or grocery store robbery or somebody shot, and that would trigger you. Yeah,
right? And it wasn't so much what it did to me, it's what it did to my family.
right.
But that guy forgiving him, I don't forgive the guy that shot me. Fuck that guy. But I'm just saying I get it, because there comes a point when you're just so proud to be alive. That's what you're focusing on.
Right.
I mean, they're saying you need to go to therapy. Why? I'm glad to be alive.
You was just happy to be at Thanksgiving, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but we got home and I didn't want to leave the house. I didn't feel safe anywhere we'd go. If we went to go get something to eat, went to a movie, I didn't feel safe. Uh, Whoever was driving, I wouldn't let them get pinned in anywhere. I was always watching.
Yeah.
It changed. It changed me. But the thing that I was able to focus on was hungry. The food
Right.
helped keep my mind off of, I mean, I had nightmares about it for a little bit. But I mean, I'd watch cooking shows. I'd watch infomercials for the hot air oven, for the Braun hand mixer. Pizza Hut had just come out with Bigfoot pizza. And when the commercial would come on, I'd go, "It's Bigfoot."
Hey, in the 90s, all food was measured by the foot. It seemed like that.
God. I would go. I remember my ex-wife cooking chicken one night, barbecue chicken. And I went in there and got a piece of chicken fat and put it up on the wires and just started trying to suck the flavor through it. Because I was sick of Ensure and ice cream.
Dude, hey, a little bit of chicken fat juice ain't bad for nobody. I'm for
Then I decided one day, I'm gonna make a malt, and I got some vanilla extract and poured it in there, like I remember my mom doing. Well, this was the real vanilla extract, which is alcohol.
Yeah.
And you can imagine how screwed up that made me. Because they gave me 14 units of blood and platelets.
Right.
The doctors came in and told me that there was no medical reason that I lived.
That's amazing. Well, you're one of the 3%, like I said.
The plastic surgeon I got, it's not like they called him and said, "This is a job for Dr. Rourke." Dr. Rourke was in the rotation that night. Dr. Rod Rourke, at the time, was the number 2 plastic surgeon in the area. He also teaches at Southwest Medical Center. I mean, he teaches plastic surgery.
Still to this day?
He's still in practice.
Mr. Dr.
Dr. Rourke. Rod Rourke.
We give you your flowers, sir.
Yeah, because he had a really nice office. And when I'd go in for follow-ups, he had like a photo studio. And when you have
he wanted to show the beginning, of course, because
I'd go in, and this photo studio was nice, like nicer than what you take it was like Olin Mills or one of those studios. It was nicer than what you take your family to get your family pictures taken at the time. And I mean, it took so many pictures of me. And finally, after about 3 visits, I asked him, I said, "Do you take y'all take that many pictures of everybody?" He said, "Oh, no." He goes, "I use you as a teaching tool at the college." He said, what we did for you is why we became plastic surgeons. The vanity surgeries are what pays for it.
Right.
He says, we don't make a living on what we did for you, but that's why we did it. And he goes, and it normally doesn't come out that good.
If you think about it, if you're him, you don't want to get into that saying, "You know what? I want to help 45-year-old cougars look 35." That's not why you get into it. You get into it because you say, "I want to help someone that
boob jobs and Botox pays the bills."
That's right. But I get into it because I want to help someone that had a bullet go through their face.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I obviously, yeah, what you said, that's going to pay his bills. But the reason why he's doing it is to help people like you out.
But they did the surgery, like they started it at like 2:30 in the morning, so he could assemble the team that he wanted. And they used one of my ribs. To rebuild this. I can put my panoramic X-ray.
Hold on, I have a question. Does that mean that you can Lanny Poffo yourself because you got a rib taken out?
No,
Okay, I was just joking.
no. If I could do that, being scared to leave the house wouldn't have been so bad. Of course, my jaws were wired shut. So, but they put a piece of gold. At first, I couldn't blink, and that was causing an issue. So they went back in, and they put a piece of gold in my eyelid to weight it down. Why they use gold, I don't know. And luckily, the James Bond movie hadn't come out yet, so I didn't get the Golden Eye nickname.
It's so Teppy can make a little extra money when you die. She's gonna cut that right up out of there.
Yeah, it's gonna be a nice necklace or an earring, or she'll get a nose ring. But
this
you know,
is
it's just
with, my nose ring is studded with Dave's eye weight. That's how I remember him.
But then they so I had to have a deviated septum surgery. He had to go in there and clean it up.
Yeah.
For a while, like every year, once a year, I had to go get that done. I don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah.
I mean,
what about your tissue? How did they fix the whole blowing out your face thing?
it wasn't blown out. It was a clear path.
Oh, it was just
here's where this piece of shit. No, I mean, failure of a gangster, failure of a gangbanger.
Yeah,
puts a gun to a guy's head trying.
Later too.
And let's don't sugarcoat it. He was trying to kill me.
Mm-hmm.
He was trying to kill me. And if you can't put a gun to somebody's head and kill them, then you're a failure at your profession. So fuck that guy.
You would have got moved right out of the Sons of Anarchy gang if you can't even pull that simple trick off.
So, but he had the gun pressed to the back of my head. When he pulled the trigger, the bullet went straight through, shattered the jaw, and came straight out. So, it didn't rip everything apart.
I got you.
Because this was a snub-nosed weapon. It was either a 22 or a 25.
Mm-hmm.
Might have been a Saturday night special. I don't think so. Could have been. But I'm pretty sure it was 22 or 25. If I didn't see anything else, I saw the gun. And but because what happens with those, when you shoot one of those weapons, when the bullet comes out, when the bullet comes out and it spins.
Yeah, it starts to spin, yeah.
So because it was pressed to my head, it didn't get to spin, so it didn't rip up everything.
Gotcha.
And that's why.
You know what's amazing to me though, at that close range, that bullet could go right through there, and that the fact that your teeth or your jaw could move its direction. I would think it would go.
Oh, they didn't move; they shattered.
Well, I know, but it forced the bullet up.
It took out my wisdom tooth.
Oh, it's the back of your jaw, and that just forced. See, I would think that bullet would just go right on through that jaw, but I guess
it ricocheted.
Yeah.
Hey, the 22 and the 25. A 22 is not a. I mean, we're going to talk about in the weeks to come. We're going to talk about things that happened at this store.
Yes, and that's why we're telling this story.
There's a cast. That's why we're telling this story.
Some of my favorite part, which is grocery store stories with.
I mean, if I'm going to properly tell the people that have not heard the tuna fish story, for y'all to understand the climax of the tuna fish story saga,
you got to know this.
The payoff, if you will. This is an important story to know.
This is the build.
So, anyway, there was a guy in the neighborhood. His name was Herman, and we all called him Ugly Herman because Herman was ugly. I mean, offensively ugly. Like, what did his parents do to piss Jesus off that bad that they got a kid that looked like Ugly Herman? I mean, he got a job as a scarecrow because Herman, beauty is skin deep, but Herman was ugly to the bone.
That's one
Anyway,
thing I haven't got to hear yet, and I can't wait to hear the Ugly Herman story. I do want to say, our listeners on YouTube, someone has a good point, and that is Jared Wise, who said, Pondwater, when you were wrestling, you missed the boat on, you could have been the golden eye. Since you had a golden eye weight in your eye, you could have been the golden eye Dave Miller. I like that. That's
well, it ended up being Super Dave instead because I don't know if y'all realize this or not, but they cut my clothes off of me, so I didn't have a shirt on. It really pissed me off. They cut my clothes off of me. That ostrich belt, crumb rind belt buckle.
Oh,
I was cowboyed up that day.
damn.
Cut my jeans off of me.
Cowboyed up. He was Friday night.
Never got the damn Marvel jacket back.
He's probably ready to go out on a Friday night after that.
It was a Thursday night. I wasn't ready to do nothing but go home and go to bed. I was sick.
Oh, that's right.
I didn't feel good. But anyway, the tattoo was not a secret anymore.
Oh.
But the doctors and nurses started calling me Super Dave.
Because you lived.
Because I lived and there was no medical reason that I should have.
Yeah.
So Super Dave was born from that.
From the doctors and nurses. So there is the origin story of Super Dave. And that's how when I first met you, 4 or 5 years ago, that's how I knew you as Super Dave. I don't even know that I knew your last name. I just knew you as Super Dave.
Everybody either calls me Super Dave, SD. It's just been my nickname for 30 years now. Yeah. And the only reason that Pondwater came around
was damn Conrad Thompson, that rat.
Conrad, and I leaned into it because we were doing the Sad News Bears, and if there was going to be any merch, I knew that Super Dave was trademarked, and I couldn't have a Super Dave shirt, but I could have a Pondwater Dave shirt. So I leaned into it.
Well, that's amazing. I mean, I have, like I said, I've heard bullet points of this story before. However, I have never heard the blow by blow, start to finish. And I do have some questions, and I will say that was a lot more information than I ever knew.
Well,
I got some questions about it.
Hold your question. Let me finish my thought on Ugly Herbert.
All right.
I saw Herbert get shot.
Oh, God.
Herbert used to fight like hell. Herbert used to fight like hell with everybody.
Same area?
I saw Herbert get shot point blank, and the bullet hit him right there and flattened out and went around his head and went. It did not break through, but he had a burn across his head, and it cut the hair off of him. There was a track. There was a track all the way to the back of his head, and he's already ugly, so it didn't hurt him anymore.
There's a prelude to next week when we go to Dave's grocery store.
He looked like last year's apple.
Ugly Herbert had such a hard head that the bullet wouldn't even go through at point blank. So that's yeah.
We'll start talking about the cast of characters that I grew up with, and y'all can judge my parents about. Well, actually, judge my dad that he has exposed a child to the environment that I was exposed to. Now, don't get me wrong; our customers are the best people in the world.
Yeah.
When I finally went back to work, I went back. My first day back was actually I went down to Christmas Day and worked with my dad. We were always open from 7 to 12 on Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
This was back before everybody else opened on Christmas.
Yeah.
And I went back to work that day because my jaws, they done cut my wires. First thing I did after I left the doctor's office when they clipped my wires is I went to Whataburger and just got a patty because I couldn't open my mouth. It was still stiff. But I was taking that hamburger and just taking a pinch of it and putting it in there and going.
Mick Foley is a man after your own heart, isn't he? Both of you, if Mick Foley would have had to wire his mouth shut after falling off that cage, I bet Whataburger would have been his first trip as well.
Man, I was dying for food. I mean, the Braun hand mixer, dude. The hot air oven, the Showtime hot air oven. The Showtime rotisserie was in that rotisserie. I was watching cooking shows, and then and I was watching at night after the Tonight Show, before Letterman would come on. It would be Real Stories of the Highway Patrol.
Okay.
And I'd watch that, hoping they'd shoot. I'd watch that, hoping they'd shoot the bad guy.
Yeah. We have another little tidbit before I go into my questions here. Jared Wise also says the gun had to be a 22. That's the only rifle with a spinning round that low that I know of. You know, a spinning round that I know of. So maybe it was a 22. It sounds like, according to our resident
Okay.
gun expert, apparently Jared Wise.
Well, my dad carried a 25 in his back pocket. I carried a 22 in mine, and they were both snub nosed
Yeah.
revolvers. So,
All
but
right.
I mean, yeah, I knew it was a small caliber, and the police tried to tell me that it wasn't an automatic because they didn't find any casings. And I told them, I said, I'm just telling you, it's a small gun. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know nothing else. Now, another question I get was, did they ever catch them?
Well, I was going to go into that, but yes.
Okay, well, then I'll let you ask your questions. Go ahead.
Okay. So my first question is, what was your complete recovery time? So how long until you were kind of back to yourself as far as physically, not mentally, because who knows, we still don't know if you're back to yourself or not that way, but
Dude, physically, once I started eating around Christmas,
you felt okay.
I mean, I got tired real quick.
Mm-hmm.
I was real cold too,
Uh-huh.
very cold. I mean, like I remember watching. I guess was it Starcade that Flair beat Vader
Yeah,
in '93,
93, yeah.
and I remember watching
That
that.
robe we wore that purple robe, right? At Low Key Big Hog Weekend.
Yeah, and I just remember I was cold.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm bundled up, and I used to never be cold. Like it had to be bad for me to put a coat on. I was very hot natured, but they gave me so much all that blood that I've been cold natured ever since. But I remember being extremely cold, and I was standing. I actually got behind the couch where the vent came down, and I stood there just trying to let the hot air hit down on me because I was so cold. Uh, so that to this day, I'm still cold natured.
Mm-hmm.
I'd probably say by April, physically,
I'm
you
sorry,
couldn't
Dave. I'll be
you
right back.
couldn't
I have a
tell.
crying puppy that I'm about to give a cameo to.
All right, and you but I got it back. I mean, the swelling finally went down. I did not. Oh, look at that baby.
This dude, I call him Animal because he's my spirit animal. And he was laying on his back just crying like hell just a minute ago, trying to interrupt your story. But here he
That's
is.
all right.
Now he's fine because he's getting held.
I wanted to see that good boy anyway. But I would, but I'd tell you that I finally got back. I mean, the nerve damage was bad, and then it went through a period. I went through a period of where, when the nerve started firing again, it hurt. So a year, I'd say a good year to recover 100%.
Sense. That's probably what I would figure, I guess, as far as that injury.
So, but I mean, it could have been a lot worse.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I got my vision, I got my hearing.
If that thing would have clipped any part of your, that the Abdullah Obligata, as they say, the stem, then
Well,
you
I
would have
mean,
been dead or paralyzed, one or the
what if
other.
it came down through here? I mean,
Yeah.
I came through it relatively unscathed, and a lot of people tell me that they don't even notice. I noticed the nerve damage still in my eye.
Mm-hmm.
It's not as bad as it used to be, but it's still.
Well,
And
that leads into my next question. Are there any life-lasting effects, as far as affect you the rest of your life type of things? I mean,
well,
not
I
really.
can't have an MRI.
Okay. Because of the metal in your head.
Right. I can't have an MRI. I went to the eye doctor last month because I thought I had cataracts. And she looked at it. She can't see behind my cornea to see if I have a cataract because the dryness, my eye is my cornea is really scratched up now.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, so now we're treating it with drops. And I was told years ago to keep it moist.
Yeah.
Because it's artificial sinus over there. And I mean,
that's a shirt, by the way. Keep it moist.
Keep it moist. Keeping it moist with Pondwater Dave. Oh, that'd be the name of the show.
All right. So, but nothing too bad, basically, is what you're saying. Nothing.
Man, it could have been so much worse.
Yeah.
And I went to the group therapy. I did the group therapies because they made me. I mean, wife was relentless about getting.
Yeah.
But I mean, I just didn't because the people that were there lost people. I was alive, and I was. Right. I mean, they were almost getting some survivor guilt off of that.
Right. Yeah.
I just didn't want to be there for that because I didn't need it.
I wouldn't want to be there either when everyone's talking about never getting to see these people again, and you're there like, "Hi, I'm just a slapdick. Someone shot me, and I'm here." Like,
and I mean, I don't know what y'all want me to say about it. I'm happy to be alive.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to sit there and waller in it. And I mean, I don't think I've really ever played the victim.
Right. No, listen.
I mean,
I've known you a long time. I've never. This is the first time you and I have had an in-depth, really conversation about this. I knew about it just because I've heard Conrad joke about it, or in conversations with maybe a Jay-Z or somebody, we've briefly talked about it, but I've never heard you bring it up, or it's not something that really seems to.
I don't dread the 21st of October.
Yeah.
A lot of time it comes and goes. Unless I've said something about it on social media and I happen to check my memories that day. I don't dwell on it. I mean, I think it's kind of a cool story. And I've even got to the point now where I say they shot me in the back of the head and I spit the bullet out.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I have a good sense of humor about it.
Yeah.
I had a Super Day belt made, and there's one of the plates on it has the state of Texas, and there's a bullet hole on the city of Dallas, and it says what didn't kill me made me stronger, and it really did.
Well, like I said,
I'll never feel safe again. Like my wife and I went to Chicago a few years ago, and she wanted to go. We were in the touristy area, and she wanted to walk around at night. And I tried to power through, and I couldn't do it. I mean, we go to the Stars games, and I pay $40 to park in the Platinum Garage, so I don't have to walk 2 blocks down to the affordable parking because I don't want to walk. I don't want to walk in downtown.
I'm the complete opposite, Dave, because obviously I've never been shot in the head. I've almost been. I took a fucking weighted baseball and got 13 stitches right here. About killed me one time, but I've obviously never had violence done against me like that. And so when I went to the Bengals and Bills Monday Night Football game where that guy almost died during that game, I drove 2.5 hours to Cincinnati. I parked 4 or 5 blocks up the hill from the stadium, and I walked right down the middle of the city by myself and didn't think a thing about it. And now thinking about you, well, of course that would bother you over, what you've been through. It's just, it would bother me too if I went through that with, and
Adam DeMoy has a question.
Oh no. Who let him in?
Oh, he's been full of shit the whole time. I feel so honored that I'm getting the full Tony Schiavone troll effect from Adam DeMoy. I have arrived, Jack.
I get it every
day. We are big market. We are big time now. But Adam wants to know, so where were you when Hogan joined WCW at the Clash of Champions in '94? I was at work. I was back to work. Thank God. I missed the parade too.
Oh my God. All right. So I'm going to finish with my questions here. I got 2 more.
Okay.
The next one is, I'm just going to ignore DeMoy as usual. What happened to the person who did it? They never caught him?
I'm told. Here's the thing: is that there was a lot of money offered for reward money was offered, and the neighborhood was extremely quiet about this. Now it was important that everybody in the neighborhood, they were our customers. When I woke up, there was a huge banner on my hospital wall that the customers had signed. It's just a big piece of butcher paper, but they all wrote me messages on it because they were afraid that I was going to blame the neighborhood. And I'll assure you that the guys that got me were not from the neighborhood.
And the neighborhood didn't want the grocery store to shut down because that was like they could walk there. They would have to figure out another way to.
Well, I mean, you got to understand, my grandfather, we had people, generations working for us.
Right.
Like we had butchers.
What I'm saying
is we had butcher working there that my granddad bought him his first bicycle.
Yeah.
It was
a community store. It employed people in the immediate community.
Like if a kid came in and stole something and got caught, and his mom, the mom would beat his ass.
Right.
But then the mom would tell my dad to beat his ass too. I mean, it was sometimes they would get food checks and it'd be like for $15, but you couldn't carry $15 worth of groceries.
So these people were from outside though.
They were not from the neighborhood. I would have recognized them. I mean,
okay, I have a backup question to this. If you don't know what happened to them or who it was, my backup question is this. What was their purpose? They got you out by your car and they said they didn't even ask for your wallet. What was their purpose and why did he shoot you?
I think that they thought they hit the jackpot when they stole her purse because she got there at closing time. So they probably figured that she came to pick the money up.
Yes.
So that's probably, and they didn't get, they got $100. I loaned her $100.
Once they got that, they just popped you and ran.
Right. Now, the other two theories is it was a gang initiation. Then the other theory was it was retaliation because I had caught a shoplifter and the police searched them and found drugs on them. Well, I got subpoenaed to come to court. Finally, they're going to prosecute one of my shoplifters. In that neighborhood, you couldn't let people walk on you because if you did, everybody would come walk on you.
Right.
I mean, we used to fight like hell, and y'all hear that in the weeks to come when we tell our fun story. But there was lots of fighting going on. But anyway, I caught this shoplifter. They called me down. He wouldn't take a plea, and he got 27 years, and it had nothing to do with shoplifting. They needed me to testify that I saw them pull the drugs off of him.
Oh.
So it's possible that I got retaliated for that.
That's true. But if that was the case, why would they drag her into it?
Well, I mean, they staged a robbery, but I think it was a robbery. I don't think it was all that. I don't think it was a crackhead. I don't think it was a dope fiend, because I will tell you this, that kid's hands didn't shake.
It sounds like it was extremely terribly planned though, in a way.
Yeah. I mean, they were waiting for me. And I felt comfortable there too. I didn't carry a gun out at night. I did after that. I mean, I started carrying a 12-gauge shotgun after that, but I mean, I didn't think it could happen to me. And
I think it was poorly planned on their part, just because if they really wanted money, I feel like there would have been a better way of getting the money than the way they did it.
Well, they finally told me that the guys that shot me, there was a Domino's pizza delivery man that was kidnapped. They killed him and threw him over the Trinity River Bridge. And I was told that the guys that did that were the same guys that got me.
It sounds the same, yeah.
And I looked at their pictures, and I couldn't have. And the one thing I refused to do was, and the police got aggravated with me because they thought they knew who did it, and they kept showing me pictures, and I couldn't. but I wasn't going to ID somebody if I wasn't 100% sure.
Well, did you ever see him 100% in the face? I mean, you did, but
Dude, I did what you're supposed to. I diverted,
yeah.
I didn't show any weakness. I didn't make
I
eye
didn't have any
contact.
type of mask or anything, right?
No, no, no. He was wearing a Emmett Smith jersey,
Well,
but
then
it was like
he's
one
an
of the,
asshole then, right then.
but
He's
it was a black Emmett Smith jersey. So it was like a variation of it, but he was wearing an Emmett Smith jersey.
he got that off the black market because they ain't selling black Emmett Smith jerseys in 1993. I promise you that. So my last question, and
They were selling plenty of Emmett Smith jerseys in 1993.
oh, not black ones.
Oh,
Said.
they had Starter made all kinds of stuff, but they told me that's who got me. I don't know if it's true or not. I was more worried that they were going to do it to somebody else.
And apparently they did. Was that
Yeah.
before or after you?
After me.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, that's what I was told, and I don't know if it was true.
Let me ask you this, and this doesn't matter, but I'm not assuming, but I'm asking, were these, at least you knew the race color of these people?
Yeah.
You knew that. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. But that's basically kind of all you kind of knew, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, I just knew there's 3 of them.
Yeah.
One of them was bigger than the other 2. I mean, heights and weights, I could, but facial features I couldn't point out.
All right. Well, my last question here is, was there a different Super Dave or a different Dave Miller before and after getting shot in the face? Did it give you a new appreciation? I know it gave you a new appreciation of life, but did that change the person that you were? Do you feel like you became a better person, maybe more appreciative of life in the long run and all that after this? Or do you feel like it was just something that happened and you just kind of moved on?
No, I think that I started living like there was no tomorrow after that.
Yeah.
I mean, I started
The same thing, honestly, the same thing could happen to you right now. You could go in and deliver your
every day.
hot Cheetos and someone could walk in there and do
Every day could be my last, and
Yeah.
I wish I wouldn't have been that way. But there was like no future plan. Like every day, I was living every day like it was my last. But what changed me is I wasn't scared of anything before,
You definitely weren't now.
and then I was scared of everything after that.
I guess you are, but you
And
know
it's
what?
not as bad as it used to be, but it's still there.
I get what you're saying as far as being out in public and stuff, but I think it probably did change you and making you less fearless as far as problems that happen in your life. Because I know you and I know your attitude, and whenever like an obstacle comes up, you're like, well, F it, we'll do this instead.
Yeah.
I think that is what grew out of Super Dave. It's like, this ain't near as big of a problem as getting the bullet.
Yeah, it could always be worse. And
Right.
let me tell you the worst part about being shot. It's not what it did to me, it's what it did to my family.
Yeah. Let me ask you, how long did the family keep the store after this?
Still open.
Still have it?
Yeah.
Who runs it now?
My uncle.
Your uncle. Okay.
My uncle and his 3 stepsons.
Gotcha.
I stayed there. I stayed there, and I just decided. I decided in 2008 I didn't want to die on that corner.
Yeah.
Things are bad. I mean, people come in taking stuff, and I'm not gonna. I mean, the final straw for me, not wanting to be there, because the money was tremendous, but like somebody came in one day and they tried to walk out with a 12-pack of beer, and I stopped them.
Yeah.
And the fight ensued, and I got busted open.
And you had the tuna can incident, and all those things just roll on top of each other after a while.
This was just a fight over a 12-pack of Coors.
Right.
And
well, it is Colorado Kool-Aid. You can't.
And after I got shot, I became a lover, not a fighter.
Yeah.
I mean, that took a lot of fight out of me, but still, normally you could just tell somebody to give you something back, because in Dallas, the police wouldn't prosecute it anyway. Like if you catch a shoplifter, they come in, you got an ID? No. What's your name? John Smith,
Yeah.
Ronald Reagan. Well, here, Mr. Reagan, here's you a ticket.
Right.
We're not calling in. We're not trying to. I mean, they couldn't be bothered with it. And but let me tell you, and it's not just that kind of crime in Dallas at the time. If you got a speeding ticket in the city of Dallas, hire your lawyer for $45. They keep pushing it back, and get dismissed.
Right.
Worst thing that would happen is if they finally did go to trial with it, you could take deferred adjudication. But
well, listen, I don't trust those cops in Dallas because it seemed like there was a president shot there a long time ago, and they still don't know who did that shit. So I'm just saying, they're not very trustworthy.
well, I will say that if you're going to be shot, I do highly recommend the 22 automatic.
Yeah, and Baylor, not Parkland. He also recommends we do have another comment from Jared Wise, and I agree with this because Jared Wise is a man after my own heart. I watch Dateline religiously, and it always goes back to the girl. Is there any way that these people would have known or been in contact with the girl? No. Okay. We just wanted to check. We wanted to do our due diligence.
You're not the only one that asked that.
Okay.
And then Crime Stoppers comes out and they film a video. Well, let me tell you, when Crime Stoppers does a video about a crime, they put some things in there that aren't accurate. Mm-hmm. That way, if somebody calls in with facts, that's how they weed out the bullshit.
Right.
So they made it look like she was my girlfriend.
Gotcha.
And that went over like a turd in a punch bowl, or it just they really made me look bad with the Crime Stopper video.
Well, I want to say this was weirdly a lot of fun. Not too often you say you get to talk to one of your good friends about him getting shot in the head, and it was fun. But it was enlightening to me because I never knew, like I said, and this is why we wanted to do this show for you guys, to get kind of the origin story of Dave. And I mean, anybody obviously getting shot in the head in such a traumatic experience is
and hey, don't feel sorry for me because it came out all right.
Right.
This wasn't a trauma dump.
No, it was not.
This was trying to make. I want to make our listeners, when they kind of understand why I'm as crazy as I am.
Well, like we said, we're getting ready to go into the grocery store stories, and before we felt that
I can't find it, Jared.
Before we felt like we could go into the grocery store stories, we thought it was important to tell this story first because you really can't go on after that without this one. So
if y'all remember, I don't know how many people have actually seen Goodfellas. The Goodfellas is one of my favorite movies, but the beginning and the middle of the movie was kind of fun. And then the end of the movie kind of got to where this isn't so much fun anymore. Like when they were just like busting heads and collecting money and doing gangster shit. You know, the mob stuff, that was kind of fun. And then they got off into the hard drugs and then the movie wasn't so fun anymore. That's kind of like my groceries. I mean, we're going to talk about, I'm going to give you a little teaser. We're going to talk about Miss Gibson. We're going to talk about Cookie. We're going to talk about Marcia. We're going to talk about Travis. Travis is going to be a fun story because Travis was a legitimate pimp.
Let me do it in my Vince voice. Coming up next week, we got Miss Gibson. Travis, the legitimate pimp.
So
that'd be fantastic.
I mean, the crap I was exposed to as a small child, I saw fighting like World Star Hip Hop don't have shit on the stuff I've seen. But I also we talked about Herbert. We're going to talk about winos. We're going to talk about things that were funny.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of funny. I mean, there was a movie in the 70s called Car Wash, and it was kind of a comedy about what went on in the car wash. We could do a movie about this grocery store that would be just as funny as Airplane or Car Wash. I mean, I had a good childhood in a situation that I probably shouldn't have been in with hindsight. And my kids didn't do that. My kids weren't allowed to.
Yeah.
I mean, my kids weren't allowed to work down there.
No.
I didn't want my kids down there.
No.
And once I got shot, that changed everything.
I was just thinking, Dave, considering the difference where you and I worked as kids, I worked for farmers out on tobacco fields as a little boy. And then once I got to like junior high, freshman, I started working in a small town that didn't even have a traffic light at a feed mill. And so quite the difference in location as far as where you and I were growing up and dealing with our first jobs, so to speak. But I'm glad we're here together now. I'm glad you guys got to listen to the Super Dave origin story. Thank you guys, Jared Wise, Adam Demoy, and everyone, Terry Weaver, everyone that joined us live here. We really appreciate it. We're going to try to do that every week for you. And we say hi to Miss Amy, who unfortunately missed, and she will be back next week. Dave, we're going to be talking about grocery store stories. You already covered that. You got anything else to say bye to the fans with?
Let's congratulate Emmy Camacho. Emmy Camacho last Saturday night became the first woman to win the Bayou Independent Wrestling Women's Championship.
There we go.
And I'm gonna tell you somebody to look out for. Emmy is definitely somebody to look out for. This is her first championship, and I'm really excited that I get to work with her. I'm not taking away from any of the women that were in the match, but there was a woman in this match named Promise Braxton. She's out of Booker T School, and she's impressive, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
That's a star. Y'all will be seeing and hearing from Promise Braxton.
You heard it here on the Pondwater Dave show first.
I mean, I see a lot of people that when I see them, I'm like, wow, and it's not, when I say stuff like that, it's not casting a negative light on anybody else, but there's just her confidence when she got in the ring. I couldn't see through her stuff. She was that good. I mean, I'm on top of the action and I can't see through it. And she's not stiffing anybody. She's intense. She's very talented. And it was just my first time seeing her. And I'm hoping I get to work with her a lot in the future.
All right.
Promise Braxton, y'all.
Yeah. And I hope you do too. I would love, like Amy said, I'd love to get down there and see one of your independent Bayou or your what's it called? Bayou Championship Wrestling.
Come down July 1st.
Yeah.
Amy and her sister are coming.
All right. Well,
we'll have a PWD live show here in the man cave.
Right. And if you guys are listening, you guys come down there on July 1st and we'll make it a party. I want to say thank you on behalf of Pondwater.
Bring a tent. We'll camp in the backyard.
That's right. On behalf of Pondwater Day.
I got RV plug in out there.
Yes. On behalf of Pondwater Dave and the bullet fragments that are still above his eye or around his eye, and myself, Justin Davis, we want to say,
hey, and enough of that shit about my eye. It's my real eye. It really works. It doesn't come out.
That is true.
I do not have a fake eye.
That's right. That's like a rumor like the Ultimate Warrior was dead and there was a new one in 1992. Yeah. He has a real eye. Okay.
I got a real eye.
And Dave's private eyes are watching you, and we hope you're listening to us. And
whoa, Adam just came up. Get a Bullet Club shirt.
There you go.
Russ Miller's father bought me a Bullet Club shirt in Charlotte from one of the vendors and he said, I saw this and thought about you. And Mr. Miller had a hell of a sense of humor. And they had his funeral this week, and so y'all keep Russ in your prayers, because it's pretty tough on him losing his dad. But, but he bought me a Bullet Club shirt. I've got it in there in my closet.
I love that. And for everyone except for Adam Demoy, take care of yourself and each other, and peace and love, everyone.